Greetings, I'm Brother Judah, a representative of the NMP and a member of the Congregation of Israel. I am your host today, and I'd like to welcome all of our listeners to What Is to Be Done podcast. Here, we investigate geopolitical, historical, biblical, social, and other scientific content. We approach the Bible from a social political perspective, and it is important that people understand that. We're not the traditional religious organization. We approach the Bible from a social political perspective, and we continue to argue that is the appropriate way to approach the Bible. The Bible deals with nations and kingdoms, civilizations, governments. In short, it deals with politics and social sciences. And so today we want to do some investigating concerning the American people. And we're looking at the Americans, the economy, and survival. We're looking at the American people in a fight for life. You have a lot of religion, we have a lot of politics, and it's shrouded in so much confusion. And we continue to lean on the argument that education is the key, but not just any education. The subjects in which people argue proudly they don't want to talk about is religion and politics. Well, that's probably what you need to study and understand. People say they don't deal with politics, especially among the so-called African American groups or those who are in poor neighborhoods. And I was told that if you don't deal with politics, then politics will deal with you. You cannot deal with it. One way or another, either you're going to deal with it suffering or you're going to deal with it fighting. The old saying is, if you struggle for freedom, you dare to win. If you do not struggle for freedom, if you do not fight for freedom, then you don't deserve to win. People have thrown their hands up in ignorance, and many people, especially those who have a little bit of education, they're satisfied with what they know, and it's this, as Paulo Freire says, it's this fear to be free. Because education and understanding, liberating education, it could turn your entire world upside down. It can go against things in which you thought was set in stone and show that it holds no weight. It can cause people to have to start over and relearn again. And this caused people to crash out. Today we're going to look at some of the conditions in which the American people, many of the American people, find themselves in. So we can analyze and critique again this shroud of ignorance. We're going to hear people say the system, for example, if we get that far as in these videos in which we play, not just today, but if God allow even time to come, you will notice the consistent ignorance. And again, when I'm saying ignorance, I'm not talking about stupidity. It's not an insult. Our ignorance, meaning we don't know. The people do not know the problem. It's not a race problem. It's not a Trump problem. It's not a Hillary problem. It's not an ICE problem. No. It is the socio-economic system that's the problem. And that socio-economic system is capitalism. Capitalism itself, as I say over and over again, it is the bastard child that came forth out of feudalism. Feudalism was the oppressive socio-economic system which ravaged the world and exploited the toilers and siphoned off wealth for a small minority. So we're going to investigate some things here, and hopefully we can agitate enough so people can do more research. And I'm here to tell you, what we put on video is just, it's barely nothing. Meaning, we can present an idea in an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours that carries years of data. It's a summation. And people, you're not going to really learn simply by watching videos. And that's why we argue study groups are important. You're going to have study groups. If God allow us to have books and able to read, and our faculties to read, and our health and strength and everything on our body working, where we can read and study, take full advantage of that blessing. It's a skill. Now, you're not just going to learn on videos. And after a while, a person who studies some and once you learn and get the background of things and read up on information, if you're so blessed to, you can see the shallowness of those who just learn from videos. It's similar to if you look at a movie theater. You may have a movie that has a book. The book has more detail than the movie. The person who have read the book about the situation have more insight. They have more understanding of the theater show or the movie than the person who just watched the hour or 2 hour film. All right. So we encourage the people. You're going to have to study. If you don't know what to study, then you're going to have to, do your due diligence. Or you could contact us and learn what we're about. And maybe you can be a part of and also help start study groups. So, but everyone make their own choice. You see, you make your own choice. We ain't here to force nobody to do nothing, but just simply, you're going to have to put some work in. All right? You're going to have to put some work in. And we're going to look at some things today to prove why we have to put some work in. Now, let's start with this video here. We're going to look at some clips. And we're going to look at, God willing, we have the links at the in the description box. But this video in particular is talking about living in poverty and how it's traumatizing. Now, they're going to have some clips. You can look at the entire thing, but, some clips I'm going to go over, some clips I'm going to ignore. But one clip in particular I want to bring out two. One is going to talk about the present day administration or Trump or whatever. Listen, like as we said before, you can, if it wasn't him, you can argue about the billions of dollars in which Barack Hussein Obama helped the billionaires. And if you go back before then, you can go to Roosevelt. You go back before, you go, carry the line. Even before Roosevelt, you get in the bushes. Run the whole length and list of those who sat in the executive office. Go all the way back to George Washington and the fortunes he made. Mount Vernon, his whiskey brewery, his plantations, the land he accumulated, the wealth in which he amassed off of exploitation of labor. Stop it with the people. Stop blaming individuals. When one person is gone, another one come in his place. They all in an uproar over the present administration or Biden administration and the rest of them. We get it. You critique it, and many don't. And they don't understand that all of those who have been sitting in the seats of power work for the capitalist. Now you have to realize or learn which capitalist will be able to help you. It's like chess. Which capitalist will be able to help you? How can you use or exploit the capitalist? And when I'm saying you, I'm not necessarily talking about an individual. Now that's going to take some planning. That's going to take political education to learn, well, which capitalist can cause the political winds to blow this way in my favor, or which capitalist can cause the political winds to blow that way in their own favor, which will undermine what I would like to do or what we would like to do. All this is important. And hopefully, we can build study groups and a strong, God-fearing, educated, disciplined organization, aka church. And now we're going to find out why that is so needed.
Wonder when the U.S. economy is going to collapse. Housing, food, and gas is all at an all-time high. The median age for a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. We have people graduating college and high school every single year, and they can't find a job because the job market's terrible. Prices of things and inflation's only getting worse, too, so there's a pretty good chance that my generation and younger generations are never going to be able to afford a home.
Okay, so we're going to get into this this text here. I mean this video here. And again, it's the girl who's going to come up next. She's going to talk about the Democrats, and she's going to explain. At least she's going to say something I definitely agree with. The Democrat and Republican, they're really not out to help. But then she get off into blaming Donald Trump again. Remember, he was a Democrat. But nevertheless, this is what happens. We keep blaming persons, peoples. It's beyond him. This is bigger than Trump. This was around before he was born. This was around before Barack Hussein Obama was born, thus and such. But I want to go back to what this other individual said first about jobs. Jobs. All right. So let's just critique that briefly. Something that people want. Jobs. You hear, oh, we need jobs. We need housing. We need we need minimum wages or living wages. They don't realize they're actually asking for exactly what those who oppress you tell you to ask for. They literally tell you what to ask for. Who came up with the concept of living wage? Where does it come from? How is it determined? That's why a disciplined, organized, learned organization, political party, if you will, you have to be organized and educated. The Democrats, the core of their organization or their party or church, they put work in. They're constantly organizing. Their power just don't fall out the sky. And the same thing for the Republicans. All right? Their seat in which they have built in their labor, it doesn't just fall out the sky. It wasn't just handed to them per se. All right? Ask the Whigs. They're gone. The Federalists, they're gone. It takes work. The rich have convinced the masses of the people, you don't have to do nothing but just ask us. And then we're going to tell you what to ask for. Ask for used to be minimum wage. Now ask for a living wage. And you ask the average American, where does it come from? Let's put it in perspective. The average American probably don't even know the etymology of the word America. What does the word mean? Let's critique this here, because we ask for things, but we don't quite understand. All right, so people will complain to the so-called government about jobs. And it's not necessarily the government who provide jobs, unless you're working for the federal government. It's more than that. It's not that simple. Jobs is handed out by the capitalists. All right? Don't get it twisted. Because we have a doctrine that is the capitalists that provide the jobs. No, I said they're handed out. I didn't say provide. And the reason why I'm making a distinction, even because it sounds similar, I'm making this distinction to make a point. If you are a capitalist and you need employees, it is the employees who enrich the capitalists. It is the employees who gives the capitalists the business. Because if the employees did not do the job or did a terrible job, then that capitalist will go under. It is the employees who support the capitalist. So this illusion, they hand out jobs, we sell ourselves. But when you really look around and analyze, the workers don't need the capitalists. What do you need the capitalists for? You're the ones who build the engines. You drive the planes. You drive the trucks. You in the fisheries, you manufacturing, you're planting the food. I mean, but that's another discussion. But let's look at the framework of the job market, right? Let's look and analyze something about the jobs, because the capitalists have taught us to ask for jobs. And this is interesting, even though the etymology of the word America is sort of sketchy, but its roots and where they're arguing that the word come from, or the etymology of the word and the meaning, the etymological meaning is very interesting. But I'll say that for another discussion. What I want to show you today is this work thing. And let us analyze briefly on how this works. This pursuit, and we go to that cowering over and asking a capitalist for a job? Why is it that we in this position? Do they intend to fill all jobs? What is this about? Minimum wage, all of this business. People graduating from schools, excuse me, and they are looking to get a job. We, I should say, look to get a job so we could feed ourselves. All right, so first of all, when we're looking at jobs, if we look at this flyer, the poor competing to survive, it is alleged that the robber baron, Jay Gold, declared, now this is alleged, I can hire one half of the working class to kill the other half. Whether he said it or not, it's still yet to be, people go back and forth about it. But the principle is true. That's exactly what happens. The principle is true. Because if you starve out one part and put another part in debt, and then employ another part and keep others unemployed, you're going to cause a rift. That's no question. All right. That's no question. It's been enough psychoanalysis studies back in the 30s and 40s to prove this is that will happen. You put people in a situation where they're struggling to survive. So we asking, did you know that it is impossible here in America and other capitalist countries as well to have full 100% rate of employment? The truth is that there aren't enough jobs for everyone. Check it out. And there's never been a 100% rate of employment in any developed country. I mean, for people who are able, willing, and ready to work. Let's say all were. Let's say everyone. It's not enough jobs. Now, America and other capitalist countries need a certain percentage of the population to be unemployed. Why? Well, in order to create a climate that fosters competition among the masses. Competition. So, if you have been around for some time, some of us in Gen X and baby boomers, we watch this process. And let's say, for example, if they needed people in the medical industry, if they needed people in different professions, they will push higher education. So it was explained to me like this some years ago when I began to get into the studies of social sciences. If you have 100 men who know how to drive they're pilots. Let's just use pilots. You have 100 men, they're pilots. And the capitalists have 100 planes. The pilot will have more negotiating power because the capitalists need that pilot. He need all 100 of those pilots to fly his planes. So every day that plane could be up in the air making him capital. If one pilot said he want more money, the capitalist will concede because he need that plane in the air. He don't have no one else to put it in the air. So what is the scheme of the capitalists? That is to train 10,000 men who know how to drive the plane, who know how to pilot the plane. Knowing that the vast majority won't find a job, but he will have what Karl Marx called a surplus of labor, extra laborers. So the educational apparatuses, they're designed for that work. Capitalists see a need, they see a growing industry, they want to educate as many as they can to have a surplus of labor. So therefore, they will compete. People will compete for wages. Some will work for less. But if they don't have a surplus of labor, then the capitalists find themselves in a bind. Just like if that one pilot or two pilots said they're not gonna fly, that's on par with a strike. My plane's not going in the air. So I need more people that if you're not gonna work for me, I got 10,000 more to choose from. Who gonna work cheaper? So the idea of competition among the masses, this is a necessity for the ruling elite. So unemployment is a somewhat of a feature, a fixed feature that the capitalists do not want to eradicate, especially with a surplus of labor. When they're educating so many people, you got 10,000 jobs, but you got 500,000 people who's applying and trying to vie for these positions. So Karl Marx argued in his 1844 manuscript, he said the number of workers having been augmented or increased their competition among themselves have become all the more intense, unnatural, and violent. So more workers, they competing. Did you know that people competing for jobs drive down wages? Now, were you aware of this? It's important for us to understand these things. The increase in the class of people wholly dependent on work, that is jobs, intensifies competition among them, thus lowering their price or wages. Karl Marx argues this point again in 1844 manuscripts. Because of the ruling class oppression of the workers, the working class is threatened with starvation and beggary. Know this: we among the toiling masses have been assaulted and enslaved by the capitalists, that is, the rich ruling class. And I'm going to add, we have allowed them to sit in the seat of power. American people, you have, especially those of you who claim to believe in God, right? And I tell people, do you realize or notice the hand of God in geopolitical affairs? The American experiment alone was so revolutionary, and it came about by way of a struggle against monarchies and rich exploiters. Gradually, the political situation in which we find ourselves today, where political power is accessible to someone as young as 18, men and women of all so-called races. This is profound when you look at the historical print of humanity. Civilized so-called humanity, built on empires and tyranny, royal blood. So it's important to understand where we are and realize, look, the only reason why the rich rule over the people of the globe today is because of the people's ignorance. The groundwork have been laid out. The stubbornness of the people to learn and to understand and to cooperate and to organize, that's the hurdle. A hurdle which can be overcome. A hurdle which must be overcome. But we're going to have to give ourselves to learning and education. We're going to have to become students. You see. And sometimes, you get people who, they get caught up in the narrative. They don't really have much of a background. After a while, people get a little bit of information. They so strong. They know, in their head at least. And then they get to this, they start bottoming out. Meaning they begin to thwart their learning process, especially with all this media coming from these capitalists. So we need the people to humble themselves, and as the master teacher argued, Yeshua ben David, whom the world called Jesus Christ, He said, let you become as a child, man. You shall in no wise inherit the earth or the kingdoms. You have to give yourself to learning to understand what's going on around you. So political economy knows the worker only as a working animal, as a beast, reduced to the strictest body needs, or living on bare minimum. 1844 manuscripts. This is where the science of minimum wage come from. The ruling class hidden hand continues to assault the poor and working class. Will the masses ever escape this oppression? This is the question we're asking. You got to come join our biblical political education class so we can get more into this. So first thing I want to point out is, listen, the idea of a labor pool, of surplus labor, the American people don't know why. Oh, people graduate from school, they can't get a job. You got to understand the science of what's going on. Who built the colleges? Why were the colleges built? Why were the universities built? Who built them? Who invested in them? What was the reason they were built? You think the colleges and the university was built for the common man, just for his own pleasure and for his well-being? Absolutely not. They were intentional. They had a purpose for being built. And they carry on that same purpose today. So let us go back to what this individual is arguing. Yes, man. Look, you got people graduating. This is not a new phenomenon. This is not a phenomenon of the Trump administration. It's not a phenomenon of the Biden administration or the Obama administration or the Clinton, whatever. This is beyond them. And our problems that we face largely comes from our ignorance.
Wonder when the U.S. economy is going to collapse. Housing, food, and gas is all at an all-time high. The median age for a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. We have people graduating college and high school every single year, and they can't find a job because the job market's terrible. Prices of things and inflation's only getting worse, too, so there's a pretty good chance that my generation and younger generations are never going to be able to afford a home.
It's going to get worse in this country before it gets.
Yeah, and again, you got to study history. The owning of homes is a new phenomenon. It's probably, people think, well, this is how it was until now. People was able to buy houses. People really think. And I understand, because it was the purpose of the capitalists to parade the Gilded Age and the age that came, I call it all the Gilded Age. This age of prosperity. First, the capitalists made wealth hand over fist with the new industries, late 1800s, early 1900s, and then with the struggle of the people, the labor unions, the politically educated, the class-conscious workers, Marx and Du Bois and Randolph and Eugene Debs, Kautsky's and Lenin's, Gus Hall's, the struggle and education that they had, they were able to wrestle with the rich, cause the rich to make concessions. Labor laws started to come in, overtime paid, child labor laws. America went through a couple of wars, so therefore, or should I say the globe went through a couple of wars, so therefore, wealth was able to accumulate into the pockets of the common citizen here in the West because the war wasn't on their soil. And so this short time period in the centuries of the existence of the American experiment. People think that's how America always was. Where, yeah, you could buy a home. No, you couldn't. The poverty was deadly. And so, my generation may never be able to buy a home. Well, join the generations that was before you. You have to start thinking beyond this same myth that the ruling class have made up and served to the American people. The American dream, the white picket fence, apple pie, hot dogs, and baseball games. You're going to have to, if you want to remain ignorant, you're going to suffer the consequences. And these are the consequences we're looking at. People are in a strait because the global economy is going back to its original plan. Wealth for a few, poverty and misery for the masses.
Gets better. It's going to get worse in this country before it gets better. The Democrats, honestly, nobody on both sides have put a stop to anything of what Trump has been doing.
No, they're not going to put a stop to it. And again, this is an example of what Trump's been doing. Look, Gen Z who lived through it, we've seen Barack Obama bail out banks, auto industries. You keep looking at the person. The scripture makes it plain. And if people just decided to read it, it explains. We're wrestling not against flesh and blood. Rockefeller, Carnegie, whoever they are, Bezos, Trumps, that's not our problem. Our problem is the capitalist system that gives them their authenticity, that makes them what they are. And so just to even be perplexed on whether Democrat or Republican isn't putting a stop to the capitalist endeavors of Donald Trump, which are the same endeavors that the Congress stands for, House of Reps, the senators, they stand for it. You're going to pick one capitalist out of a million. Why? Because that's what the media put in your head. You're running with the same narrative. Now, I'm let her play. Let's see if she mentioned the word capitalism at all. Democrat and Republican are capitalist. And then you have to also just take into account this is a 3-tier government that have been hijacked and infiltrated by the rich. Whatever Trump do, whatever Obama have done, they can't do it alone. You have lawmakers, that is senators, House of Representatives. They're the ones that's always hidden in the fray. Even when it comes down to voting. Your vote, the popular vote, don't count for presidency. Only electorates choose presidents according to the Constitution. Most people that I have met don't know, just like at a time I didn't, what in the world is the Electoral College? And people don't know, and they just still keep on moving and giving their opinion. You need to know what that is and what that's all about. And no one in the electoral process could hold political office. But they choose president. But the people choose Congress now. And tell me, how many of your congressmen Do you have a full rundown sheet, a full rap sheet on them? Or are they snuck in the ballot while the song and dance and the circus show on all of the mainstream media outlets, and that is even private journalist outlets, their whole song and dance is about the president. Don't talk about the congressman. They slip right in the ticket. And that happens on the state level, and that happens on the local levels. So no, the Democrat or Republican, they're not going to do nothing about it. And for you to even think that they would, you're delusional or uninformed.
So there's a pretty good chance that my generation and younger generations are never going to be able to afford a home.
It's going to get worse in this country before it gets better. It's going to get worse in this country before it gets better. The Democrats, honestly, nobody on both sides have put a stop to anything of what Trump has been doing. It's now April. We're about to go into May. Listen, if they haven't done anything now, summer hits, gas is going to hit $5. It might even get close to $6 the way everything has been moving. Like, it's stalling at like $4.30 right now in PA, my area. It's going to go up. The amount of tone deaf people in like these high ranking positions, aka that councilman who has house shot up because he approved a data center, just goes to show that these people are not fucking listening. Or do they give a fuck about the people that they are serving?
Yeah, that's your problem. They are listening. And they do care about who they're serving. But you don't understand, young lady, is that those who sit in office are not there to serve you. You didn't labor to put them in office. You didn't vet them. The people who are in office, for the most part, are put in office by the political organization of either Democrat or Republican. That's who put the work in. And you expect the rich man to put all his work in to infiltrate the power seats to do something for you? No. You have to go get your battle axe. You have to go on the playing field and organize and get out of the paradigm of Democrat and Republican or any capitalist party, because all the capitalist parties or all the political parties in America that I know of today, probably except the Socialist Party or the Communist Party USA, they have their own struggles. But all the rest of them who putting people on the ticket, they're all capitalists. Why would they work for you when you are the resource in which they need the freedom to exploit? If you want someone in office that will work for you, then you must organize and put the same work in and even more work than the Democrat and Republican. And then we get into this lie, oh, well, you need money. No, you don't need the money. Money could be useful. It's not a necessity. Money can make things convenient, but it's not a necessity. Let me put it this way. Give an analogy of plumbing. A man could dig a ditch. Plumbers, shovels, digging shovels and spades, they dig a ditch to expose piping. 6 feet underground, 3 feet underground, or depends on your area. Now, it takes longer to use the shovels. It's more work. But they can dig it and get the pipe repaired. But then you have a man who got a backhoe. He have a machine. He could dig it in less than half the time. He had the money for the convenience. He have the money for the convenience. In other words, yeah, he can get it dug up too with his backhoe. It's gonna cost more, but you can get it dug up too with your shovels. See, all right, the rich man can get on there with his millions of dollars and buy TV time, but you can go door to door. You can get it done. It's probably not as convenient. Stop blaming the fact that, oh, well, you need money to do it. No, you don't need money to do it. You need willing people, because that's who the money pay for. And there's a science behind that too. Once you look at how many people participating, you don't even have to get all of the American population to work towards a political, organized, solid, educated group, because most Americans not even participating in the process. That's another reason why it's even easier for the rich to come in, sit in office, like we explained before. He come in, he sit in office, and put people in front of us. We need to put our own work in. You see? We need to put our own work in organizing and learning. Or else they will keep putting peppers up in front of you. That's right. They're going to put candidates they chose. That's how it works. You a fool. We are fools to expect anything other than those who sit in seats of power, who were endorsed by those who have the riches, to work for anyone other than who endorsed them. And we just fool enough to believe whoever they put in our face, and they tell us the same old song and dance. Oh, your groceries bill too high. Your light bill's too high. They say the same thing for the last 200 years. And still serve the capitalists. Could show you back in 2006, 2008, crises, gas prices through the damn roof, people losing their homes. We go back further than that. We go back beyond 1930, before there was a Social Security, before there was a social net. My great grandmother didn't have no Social Security. Got to look and understand what's going on around you. Let's get back.
Wonder when the U.S. economy is going to.
So, again, we're going to get past this one because, I mean, again, this is it. No, the Democrat or the Republican, they're not going to do nothing for you. They both capitalists. They're going to work for the capitalists, and they don't serve you. And for anyone believe, oh, yes, theoretically, those who sit in seats of power are supposed to serve those who you voted for. Yeah, but you're missing the important part of that. You choose among your ranks who you want to represent you, then you vote for them. But right now, we're voting for people who we did not choose among our ranks. And if we have chose people who are among our ranks, then we must examine our ranks and look at the social political agenda of our ranks. You think keep supporting the capitalists, to keep supporting the capitalists, you think is going to change your condition? This country was founded on capitalism. It was founded on exploitation. Black slave owners, white slave owners, sugar plantations, cotton plantations owned by the rich, the monarchy financing slavery that was primitive, and I mean indentured white slaves too, exploited Asians, This country was founded on the exploitation of labor by the primitive capitalist and the industrial capitalist. Why in the hell do we think that they're going to do anything different today? Who fought for a day off? The socialist. Who fought for child labor laws? The socialist. Who fought for overtime pay? The socialist. Who fought for 80 or 40-hour work weeks and anything going over that? Overtime pay. The socialist. Social Security got it in its name.
It might even get close to $6 the way everything has been moving. Like, it's stalling at like 4.30 right now in PA, my area. It's gonna go up. The amount of tone deaf people in like these high ranking positions, aka that councilman who has house shot up because he approved a data center, just goes to show that these people are not fucking listening. Or do they give a fuck about the people that they're serving? It's not fear mongering anymore. We're living in it.
We are seeing.
So, yeah, we're going to look at a couple of more, but as you see, no, they're not. They are serving the people who put them in office. Those who are in office serve the capitalist. I don't care if Bernie Sanders called himself a socialist or whatever. If you don't know what socialism is all about, and there is a distinction between one who calls himself a socialist and a scientific socialist and an anarchist and all thus and such, thus and such. Education in which most people that I have met didn't feel it needful to study. They're going to find out it's needful. And so we're looking for the peoples and the generations who understand how not only is it needful, it's needful to study and learn and to act upon. And we have Bible to prove it to you. That's why I say we approach the Bible from a social political perspective. We're not traditional religious people. You have some people in this modern day religious psychosis. And that's the problem too. Ignorant on politics and under a religious psychosis. And that occurs when an individual experiences a loss of touch with reality, featuring prominent religious or spiritual themes, primarily delusions, hallucinations, and disorganized thinking. Why? Because you have taken things literal in a text like apocalyptic imagery. You think God's sitting somewhere with white hair. You think God ages, huh? God, he done grew old. You think God have a buttocks sitting in a chair somewhere up in the clouds. Disorganized thinking. Religious psychosis. You think spaceships coming or you're going to disappear and leave this earth and go to another dimension. Delusions. And Thessalonians said the Creator will send you a strong delusion if you believe not the gospel of truth. And most people that I have met have no clue what that is. Because they don't know what Jesus come to bring. They fail to realize he was a revolutionary resuscitating the social experiment that God used Moses to lead to crush and to remove oppression out of the earth. Jesus of Nazareth did not deviate from that plan. Thus, the rich got upset at him. His local countrymen, who were the rich, political leaders, turned him over in a speedy trial, turned him over to the Romans and accused him of treason. People say, well, he died for our sins. That is true. You don't realize that sins have a concrete reality? Capitalism is a sin. Imperialism is a sin. The Bible teaches a curse causeless do not come. You're off in these delusions. Sin have a material reality. Slavery was a sin. The Bible teaches you about this when Yeshua ben David talks about mammonism. Exploiting Asian labor on railroads was a sin. The British and the Irish potato famine was a sin. Because you have to tie in the concrete realities. And when we're looking at those under a religious psychosis, they have lost touch with reality on what causes what. Jesus didn't walk around telling a rich man, just be nice to people. No, he said, take all your wealth and give it to the poor. The Bible specified it was a rich young ruler, signifying that a ruler accumulated his wealth off the backs of the proletariat. So Jesus was explaining, get back the property that belongs to them, the workers. And that's the same sentiment with the Creator. Israel made riches for Egypt. Now, before you leave the coast of Egypt, you're going to get back what belongs to you. And you're going to empty out the Egyptian empire. Concrete reality behind imperial sin and oppression. So we got to get out this religious psychosis. These people are talking about real issues here. Real issues. And the religious people can't tell you nothing but, one day we're going to be in a better place. Where that's at? Well, I don't know where it is. But long as it's with, why don't you know where it is? Here you have a book that's almost 2,000 pages, 1,500 to 2,000 pages, that explains things in detail, but people don't want to do that. They rather listen and watch a film on Jesus. They rather look at a movie on Jesus. They rather watch The Passion of Christ or Jesus of Nazareth. No. You see that hasn't gotten us anywhere. All right.
Collapse of the everyday
Center just goes to show that these people are not fucking listening. Or do they give a fuck about the people that they are serving? It's not fear mongering anymore. We're living in it.
We are seeing the collapse of the everyday economy and why poverty is so traumatizing for Americans. Well, you can't really budget your way out of poverty. You're in a constant state of fear and stress and anxiety, and you're one paycheck away from homelessness pretty much. And you're constantly wondering if your paycheck is going to cover all of your bills for the next month. And all it takes is just one emergency, say your car breaks down, say you have to go to the emergency room, before it wipes out your entire savings account, you have no money left. That is what Americans living in poverty are feeling right now. And you can only imagine the stress that they're going through. And the billionaires and the rich at the top don't understand this. They think that the economy is great. They think the economy is booming because the stock market is at all-time high.
No. See, again, here we got another one. No, you don't understand. The rich understand very well. And they understand you don't understand. And the economy is booming for them. See, that's the part that you American people don't understand. Just like I didn't, and many of us didn't, until we decided to go and begin to take on social sciences and learn social sciences and class consciousness and revolutionary theory. then we begin to understand. No, they understand very well, sir. You don't understand. They doing exactly what they have been chosen to do. And when I'm saying they, those who sit in seats of Congress, those who pass the bills, for example, minimum wages, who carries the power of the purse? Congress. What about the congressional power over the poverty threshold guidelines? Huh? Who holds the power to increase the poverty threshold guidelines if they wanted to? Congress can change the poverty threshold guidelines by passing new laws. Congress. We have let the rich, thieves, and barons infiltrate the seats of power. But the American founders have laid it out so that just as they moved in, they could be removed out. And you don't even need no guns. And that's another trick. People think they need weapons. That's archaic. It was the reason why people used weapons 300 years ago, 200 years ago. They were under monarchies. We are in a different experiment now. Blood was shed for this experiment. Sacrifices was made to create a political climate that the boy pushing a plow have access to political power. What we need is education. And we could be no longer damnable fools to think that all of the work the Republican put in, all of the work the Democratic put in for the capitalists, to think that they're going to put all that work in for us. No, they putting all that work in for their freedom to exploit us. And they bank on and love the fact that the masses of the American people have no clue or have very little clues on how this political scheme works and what to do about it. Get yourself a Bible. Get yourself a constitution. Get yourself a dictionary. Get to organizing. Reach out. Or just sit down and complain till you ain't got nowhere else to sit. But they know exactly what they're doing. They're not out of touch. Those who sit in seats of power, the capitalist class, know exactly what they're doing. And we need to learn what they're doing.
Living in poverty are feeling right now. And you can only imagine the stress that they're going through. And the billionaires and the rich at the top don't understand this. They think that the economy is great. They think the economy is booming because the stock market is at all-time highs and their investments are doing very well. So they think a lot of these companies have record profits, stocks are at all-time highs, things are going good, but that's not the case for the workforce. A lot of these big corporations don't care about the employees enough to increase their wages to match the rate of inflation and survive, because bills keep going up every single year and people are being pushed into poverty, more and more Americans every single year. It's absolutely insane in my opinion, and I think this is something that we need to talk about. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this and take a look at the rest of these videos.
All right, look. Again, as we said, they know, those who sit in seats of power, who have infiltrated Congress, the economy is doing well for the capitalists. They don't intend for it to do well for the worker. Some workers will reap benefits. Why? Because the capitalists may hire them, pay them wages. That goes back into what we said before. They can get a lot of them on their team if they pay them a little bit. So the capitalists could build a buffer. Technically, at one time, a buffer was technically the middle class. The middle class will be the buffer between the extreme poor. So when the extreme poor rise up and argue their grievances, the middle class will say, well, the capitalists, they not too bad. Why? Because you got your little white picket fence, you got your house, you own your own home, TV, car, garage, pretty much like they did with the house slave and the field slave. But as we looked at with the other young lady, gas prices, inflation, who controls it? Technically, Congress. They pass laws. They pass laws in the interests of the capitalists. Why? Because the capitalists work to put them in office, because the capitalists just don't do what they want to do. They know the procedure. They must put someone in office so they can lay the groundwork or lay legislation so they can then do what they want to do. But they all are following this law. And that's what the American people don't quite understand. If you want someone in office to work for you, then you have to organize, you have to put the work in, and you have to pull one from among your ranks. And there's plenty of intelligent people among our ranks. And they will become even more intelligent once we provide political education. So they complain over gas prices, grocery prices. Who determines these prices? The capitalist. Inflation isn't a phantom. Supply and demand isn't an entity. The prices goes up because the capitalists raise their price for the sake of the profit margin. It's not a ghost. But it appears to be a phantom because people don't know how it works. People say, well, how much greed, how many penthouses and thus and such you need. It's not that cut and dry. The capitalist must continue to turn over profit, because if he don't continue to turn over profit and keep a decent profit margin, he gonna be like one of us. He'll be ruined, and he'll descend down into the hells of the proletariat class. He don't want that. He got bills too. Those Bentleys cost, insurance costs to heat up that big old mansion he had. That's a cost. Well, we're gonna have another lady who she's gonna come on, and I want to play her before we close out so we can get an idea, because she's gonna hit it. She's gonna begin to bring the listener attention to something I've been saying concerning the government and Congress. Stop saying they. It's time for us to identify.
To match the rate of inflation and survive, because bills keep going up every single year and people are being pushed into poverty. More and more Americans every single year. It's absolutely insane in my opinion, and I think this is something that we need to talk about. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this, and take a look at the rest of these videos.
Only in America can you still have $3 in your bank account, but owe the bank $36. See, this is a part of the poverty hustle, specifically the part where banks pretend to be helping you, but are actually mugging you with paperwork and a smile. So think about it. You go to swipe your debit card at the gas station for $7.49. You thought you had enough, but surprise, you don't. In this example, you're 72 cents short. So what does the bank do? They don't reject the charge. They pay it and charge you $35 inconvenience. So now your $7.49 charge now takes on the charge of a steakhouse meal in just that short amount of time. But the kicker, rich people with millions of dollars in their account, they get overdraft protection from the bank for free. But if you're broke, that protection comes with a bill that you can't afford. But that's the system. It doesn't help you when you need it. It is a hustle. It profits off your need. It's legal robbery and a tax on being poor. And it's not just you. In 2023, banks made over $8 billion with a B dollars in overdraft fees alone. That's not a broken system, baby. It's a business model. And remember, Congress just passed something that allows the banks to put no caps on overdraft fees. Have you awakened yet? So what does the bank do? They don't reject the charge. They
We're going to get that one more run. Listen to what she said. She said, have you awakened yet? Now, even though she said system, she didn't identify what the system is. It's a capitalist system. Make that clear. You know how capitalists always like to talk about communist this, communist that? All right. They want to talk about the Communist Party of China. Well, let's talk about the Capitalist Party of America. Let's talk about the capitalist system of America. Listen to what the woman said again.
pay it and charge you $35 inconvenience. So now your $7.49 charge now takes on the charge of a steakhouse meal in just that short amount of time. But the kicker, rich people with millions of dollars in their account, they get overdraft protection from the bank for free. But if you're broke, that protection comes with a bill that you can't afford. But that's the system. It doesn't help you when you need it. It is a hustle. It profits off your need. It's legal robbery and a tax on being poor. And it's not just you. In 2023, banks made over $8 billion with a B dollars in overdraft fees alone. That's not a broken system, baby. It's a business model. And remember, Congress just passed something that allows the banks to put no caps on overdraft fees. Have you awakened yet?
Who? Congress. What we've been telling you. Congress. Stop blaming Trump. Stop blaming the executive branch. This is a team effort. This is the system of capital. This is what the capitalist banker, for example, does. He get people in Congress, sit on the senator seats, the House of Representative seats. He follow them in college. He endorsed them because nobody else putting in the work. The average American people not putting in the work for political organization. We sit up here and act like that the Democrat, Republican, or any other party is for us because we registered Democrat. When the last time poll man registered as a Democrat was invited to the Democratic Convention. I mean, they sent you an invite. No, the people who put the work in. And so therefore, they donate to schools. They look and see who they can get in there, who's a good attorney or whatever. Needless to say, you don't necessarily have to be an attorney to sit in the seat of power. One reason why I argue they choose attorneys and stuff like that, because they're good debaters. But the rich man, he picks them, put them in Congress. You get enough of them and fill the seats where they can win votes. And laws like that can be passed where overdraft fees for the banker or for the rich man, he get coverage. They can make billions, as the woman said, if what she said is true. Why is this happening? Because the rich man know exactly how the playing field works, and he have free range of the court. He have free range of the court. Like a hockey game. No other players are on the other side. Goldie gone, everybody gone, and it's just that team running down there, putting the puck in the net. I'm Brother Judah from the Congregation of Israel, a representative of the NMP, the Nazarene Messianic Party. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners today for tuning in with us on what is to be done as we discussed Americans, the economy, and survival. We're going to continue this. There's more discussions, definitely, that must be had on this situation that has been going on for millennia. That is the exploitation of the workers. So, most high willing, we'll be back again with another discussion, and I'd like to thank everyone who have taken a time out to tune in with us. And I'd like to say, may the Most High bless the understanding of all those who are sincerely searching. And as always, he that hath an ear, let him hear.